In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Come, Holy Ghost,
fill the hearts of thy faithful, and kindle them in the fire of thy love.
send God the Spirit, and they shall be created.
And thou shalt renew the face of the earth.
Prayer. O God, who didst instruct the hearts of the faithful by the light of the Holy Ghost, grant that by this same Spirit we may be truly wise and ever rejoice in His consolation. Through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu mulieribus, benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus.
Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Amen.
Cor Iesus sacratissimus,
Miserere nobis,
Cor Maria Immaculato,
ora pro nobis,
Sancte Iosef,
ora pro nobis,
Sancte Pia Decime,
ora pro nobis.
In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen.
This is our 6th year having the retreat here at the Red Rock Ranch, and because of the intensity of the crisis on the faith and the battle we're in, normally I take one instruction and Father graciously comes and we have an open panel discussion. So you're free to raise questions in this session, and we discuss some of the main points of the crisis that we're in. And I thought today we could look at some of the glaring contradictions of the position of Archbishop Lefebvre and the new Conciliar SSPX since 2012. And there's many of them, but here's 4 glaring ones. With Archbishop Lefebvre, there was always a distinction between the Conciliar Church and the Catholic Church. And in the new SSPX, Bishop Fillet says it's all one church. We're all one. Pater,
Yes.
what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, the same. They say there are some declaration of Bishop Lefebvre. He say we are face with a church that is masqueraded, and we don't know what is. That is not the true church. This is something that is other thing. And he said that. I heard him in a conference in Econ. He said that we are face something that is not the Church Catholic. It's a masquerade. And he's here speaking about the Conciliar Church. And there is infiltration of the structure of the Catholic Church. You know, the charges of bishop, pope, cardinals, etc. are occupied and infiltrated, and that is from the Church Catholic. These places, these charges, but are occupied by the new church. It is a mystery of this invasion of the people are bad theologians, modernists, condemned by Pius XII, and this make a coup d'etat in the church, and they take the biggest charges of the church.
Oh, the highest positions.
Highest positions of the church, is something mysterious. We are not sedevacatists, but the church is occupied.
The church is occupied by enemies.
By enemies. The structure of the church, we remind Catholic. We remind the Catholic because we accept the structure of the church, but not only we accept to the doctrine, the real doctrine of the church. That is, that's why there is. We need to take a distance of Rome. But we are not schismatic, because in the new society, St. Pius X say, they are schismatic, they are sedevacantist. It's very easy to say. It's not true. We are not sedevacantist. We are not schismatic, and we conserve the doctrine of the church, the true church, and we conserve the teaching, all the teaching of Bishop Lefebvre. But they are make many exceptions to the teaching of Bishop Lefebvre. They say we are the sons of Bishop Lefebvre. It's not true. It's not true. They make too much censure of the teaching of Bishop Lefebvre, and don't say that to the faithful. The faithful are ignorant, and here accept that say Bishop Felay that they are faithful to Bishop Lefebvre. It's not true. It's not true. We can verify that. There are many teachings, many citations of Bishop Lefebvre that say the contrary that they say. That is a reality.
Here's 4 of them. The next one is the Archbishop Lefebvre held the primacy of doctrine, always the primacy of doctrine. When he was asked, what's the main problem with you in Rome? Is it the Mass? Is it the Latin? Is it vestments? He said, no, it's the social kingship of Jesus Christ. When Rome recrowns Christ the King, then we'll know Rome has come back to tradition. And the new SSPX, it's now not the primacy of doctrine, but liturgy over doctrine. And the nice ceremonies over doctrine. And the nice buildings over doctrine. They've kind of abandoned the fight for the doctrine and put it on the back burner. See?
Yes.
Do you have any comment on this part, Pater?
Yes, they gave many importance to the Mass, to the ceremonies, the beautiful ceremonies with wonderful music. The aspect exterior of the church that can be good, no, but it's not sufficient. The liturgy, liturgia sine doctrina is error, and they practice that because there are some doctrine. Sure, that is not, but it's not the integrity of doctrine. That is a doctrine. It's not say something and not say all. That the liturgy that is not all doctrine. That is a problem because they have omissions of the essential things, essential truths of our fight today. It is not sufficient to have beautiful ceremonies, to have many people, or to have beautiful, wonderful constructions on seminaries or schools. It's not sufficient. The theologians say, it is in the books of theology, the church have the body of the church, the soul of the church, and the properties of the church. That is different. The soul of the church is the faith, the grace, the doctrine, but the body of the church are the members, the persons. We, the faithful, the person, physical person, is the body of the church, but it's not sufficient to. And after he have the properties of the church, there are the constructions, there are the properties of the church are okay, but it's not the body of the church. It's the properties of the church, and the church are the persons, but are the body of the church. But the soul of the church is the spiritual things, and there are the faith. And if you don't have the faith, you don't have the grace, you are not in the soul of the church. You can be the member of the body of the church, but you are not member of the soul of the church. And if they make many importance, they give many importance to the body and the properties of the church. Yes, okay, but it's not sufficient. You can go to the heaven if you are not member of the soul of the church. You don't have the faith, not have all the faith, you are heretic. It's not sufficient to see only the exterior things of the church. It's not sufficient to be safe. And you say, yes, we have doctrine. Yes, very partial doctrine. Doctrine is always integrity. To be a real doctrine, need to be integral
doctrine.
Integral doctrine is necessary. And we can say, I take 95% of doctrine Catholic and not take 5%. You are not Catholic, you just say that. The many heresies are, the heretics say 95% of doctrine Catholic, but if there is one error, it's sufficient. They are no more Catholic. They are excommunicated, reprobate by the church. And some priests say, oh, I accept all the doctrine, but I don't accept only one truth. I don't accept the divinity of Christ. It's sufficient. You are not Catholic. And the integrity of the faith, and that's the problem. They have the beautiful ceremonies, but the priest not teach to the faithful all doctrine. He not show all the doctrine, only some doctrine. But the faithful is no good at. He need to accept all the truth that is necessary to be safe. That's a big problem in the society today, and each day they are only piety, only beautiful mass, only. He speaks many of the duty of states to the faithful and say, if you make your duty of states, you make your work in your home, you are a good, all the duties, materials of the life can be sufficient. No, it's not sufficient. The first duty of state is the conservation of the faith. Today is the first duty of state. You be careful to conserve the faith in your heart, in your family, in your life. It's necessary to be safe. The conservation of the faith today, that is the invasion of modernism, of liberalism, of many errors. The first duty is to conserve the faith. If the priest not teach about that, not teach all the errors of the council, there is a big problem. There is a big problem to the salvation of the souls.
See, if you knew the old SSPX, some of you do. I mean, almost every sermon, every conference, certainly with Archbishop Lefebvre, he treats of the Vatican II, the errors we have to fight, the errors attacking the church, modernism, evolution. And the priests always used to preach this. Father's 40 years, most of the SSPX priests, this was, if not the main focus of their sermons, certainly part of it, almost every Sunday. And like Father Tam, I remember seeing him preach in Spain, and he's just blasting Vatican II. This was a normal SSPX sermon, and people would be, if they loved the new Mass in Vatican II, they would storm out of there. Peter.
Father, does this not make us Donatists? Because we're all about what the priest says, and focus so much on what the individual qualities of the priest. That's something obviously not my question, but.
Donatists. The point I'm making is Father Tam and many men, all the priests across the board and bishops, always preached the integral Catholic faith, which involves the errors that we have to fight today, and that's Vatican II, the new Mass, the new Code, the religious liberty, ecumenism, collegiality, freedom of conscience, separation of church and state. We have to speak of these things. Maybe not every single sermon, but often. And that's the integral battle for the faith. And what Father's point is now they don't speak of these things so much anymore. It's rare.
It's not sufficient to go to the traditional Mass to be safe. It's not sufficient. You need to have the integrity of the faith. You have the integrity of the faith, you don't go to the heaven. No possibility. If you are in the error, you are in the heresy. It's not sufficient. The beautiful ceremonies, the beautiful mass, the beautiful constructions, many people. You know, the Pope has many more people than the tradition. If you go, when the Pope is in the place of St. Peter, there are thousands of persons there. But it's not the criteria principle of to be Catholic, the number. And today in society, she say we are many people. We are, yes, the modernists are more people than you. It's not sufficient. The number, no.
Right. The growth. They say the growth of the society shows it's right.
We live because we are the reason to be the society, that the reason, but because Bishop Lefebvre foundation of the society is to conserve the faith. It's the first reason. If there is not this reason, there is no society, there is no tradition. That's why Bishop Lefebvre made the society to conserve the faith of the church, the integrity of the faith. Not only some truths, no, the integrity of the faith.
Can everybody hear in the back? You can hear clearly? Okay. Yeah, Gavril.
Yes, I was just wondering, with as the faith is the soul of the church, and the amount of people in the church representing the body of the church, couldn't we use the term very well with that situation when people try to argue that quantity is better, more people you have the better? We could use the term, I think that our Lord said, don't fear him who can kill the body, but him who can kill the soul. So if that would apply to your, for say the martyrs, if the quantity of faithful in the church is reduced, but if the faith is still there, there's no problem. As long as they had the faith, it's only for the greater honor and glory of God. So you can't just say you have all quantity, so your church is right because you have lots of people, but and you should be afraid that when there's not very many people there, because you shouldn't fear him who can kill the body.
Who can bring up a time in history when the number of real Catholics, true Catholics, were very few, and the most of the world went Arian. Yeah, the Arian heresy. But still, even then, you had Saint Athanasius, you had Saint John Chrysostom, you had good bishops who still had the faith. But most of the bishops went with Arianism. So the famous words of Saint Athanasius, they have the churches, we have the faith. Even if Catholics reduced to a handful still remain faithful to tradition, they remain the true Church of Jesus Christ. And that's the Archbishop. His treasure given to us is to preserve the faith of the magisterium of the Catholic Church, all the doctrine, all the encyclicals, all the councils down to Vatican I, and not change the doctrine. So, third point, no agreement with Rome, says Archbishop Lefebvre, until Rome proclaims the kingship of Christ, starts teaching again the encyclicals of the popes that condemn freedom of conscience, like the Syllabus of Errors, which is infallible, Quanta Cura, the Quas Primas, and the social kingship of Christ, the great encyclicals condemning separation of church and state, the freedom of conscience and religious liberty, ecumenism.
Sermon anti-modernist. You remember the sermon of the Pius X, the sermon anti-modernist.
The anti-modernist oath. That's what you mean, the oath?
Yes,
the oath. Yeah, the oath that he required all priests, all university, academy, lower school teachers, they had to make always the oath against modernism. Yes. And when Rome condemns Vatican II, the new Mass, etc., new code of canon law, errors in it. There's over 200 heresies in the new Code of Canon Law, said Archbishop Lefebvre. And that's Archbishop Lefebvre's position. The new SSPX, yes, we can settle with an agreement with Rome as long as they give us unilateral recognition. So they say, we don't change, Rome just recognizes us. That's a deception, because it happened to St. Peter's Society, La Barou, Christ the King Institute, Campos, Brazil. They were all told, you can preach against modernism, you can have your Latin Mass, and we recognize you unilaterally, but down the road they have to give in. And that happened with the SSPX, with the doctrinal declaration, which they are very embarrassed about. They don't talk about it. They removed it from a lot of their websites. But it was signed, it was sealed, it was delivered to Rome. Bishop Follet never condemned it, never retracted it. And we're talking doctrine, which is that's the foundation you stand on. And they still never have retracted this. So this was the agreement with Rome, we could say, with the 6 conditions for the agreement with Rome. I mean, literally, that's what they called it, 6 conditions for the agreement with Rome. Archbishop Lefebvre would say, never until Rome straightens out the doctrine. And then the agreement with Rome, the proof that this was the agreement with Rome, the doctrinal declaration, is, look what they got. They got a good deal. They got jurisdiction for matrimony, holy orders, and confessions. So everyone who gets married now in the new SSPX, all their marriages and their records go to the local bishop. And many of them say this is a good thing to prevent divorce and all this, but it shows they're working under these modernist bishops now, to some degree. And now, I remember Bishop Follet in 2013, he put out a notice to all the priories, at least in the United States, to start establishing some friendly contact with the local diocesan bishops. All right, now these are the same bishops who are having rock and roll masses, children's masses, rainbow masses, right? And this is that pluralist error of Vatican II. Now Bishop Follet is happy we have our Latin Mass altar in the pantheon of Vatican II, of all these religions. Now we have our recognition in the pluralist church of Vatican II. It's very deadly, very dangerous thinking. Pater,
Yes.
what have you got to say on that point?
Yes, there is not only, I said, to sign something. What is the name of that? To sign accord with Rome. To sign accords.
To sign in the agreement?
Accords or agreement?
Agreement and accord, same thing.
Yes, because many faithful go to see the priests in the society, the faithful. In the, there are accords with Rome. He say, no, there are not accords. But the biggest accord that can be possible, the biggest, the more important, the more real, is accord in the question of the faith. Not only accord in the question, I say, pastoral or other thing, no? The biggest accord can be is the doctrinal accord. That is the more important, more essential. And when Bishop Follet make this declaration of 2012, is essential of the essentially doctrine.
Doctrinal declaration.
Yes, is that doctrinal? There is accord with Rome. That is the most important accord that can be signed. Mm-hmm. Bishop Follet signed this accord, and not only him, the more important persons of the society signed this document. It's a document official. It's not private. It's not a declaration. It's to give that to Rome. It's a real compromise, and it's not only the practical things, the pastoral decisions. No, can be bad, all that, but the most important accord with them It's a core doctrinal, and that is was be make in the past. It's a real thing. It's not illusion. And there are many people say no, there is not accord with Rome because there are not some paper with these signatures. There is no accord. No, it's not true. It's a lie. That there is accord. It's because they accepted the doctrine. He say many things in this document. He say the new sacraments are legitimate.
Legitimate new mass, legitimate new
Bishop
sacraments.
Lefebvre say the contrary. Say the contrary thing, and he say no. Now the sacraments are legitimate, the new sacraments, and that is a compromise in doctrine. Is that the best compromise that you can imagine? The doctrine, the compromise that is there, never was retracted, and there is official document. Is not something accidental or some declaration. No. It's a document official, give to Rome, sent to Rome. Is vigent. In vigore.
Oh, it's in force.
It's in force.
Yeah.
It's in
Yeah,
force.
it's live and kicking.
Yeah.
It's not be never retracted. Actuality is now be retracted. Here actual, and this is the principal problem that they have.
It was printed also. A lot of people say, well, I've never seen this document. Well, Bishop Follet published it in the Cor Unum. I think it was in April or March of 2013. So it came out almost a year later. So it was very sneakily done. And there should have been an uproar then. As soon as all the priests knew and read this doctrinal declaration, there should have been a huge uproar in the SSPX, demanding the condemnation and retraction of this. But there wasn't. There was just a silent, let's go along to get along. And the priests who raised their voice, they were silenced, they were kicked out, they were expelled, etc. But this doctrinal declaration is very serious. It accepts Vatican II insofar as, to quote, we accept and declare Vatican II enlightens tradition, and the tradition in turn enlightens and deepens the understanding of Vatican II.
Of hermeneutic and continuity.
That's what it is, yeah, of Benedict XVI.
So why do you think there was so much fear among, if that's the appropriate word, among the priests of the society to go along and not stand up for the faith? Was there an attitude necessarily in the seminary that you don't stand up, you don't argue with everybody?
It's laughable because, the Vatican II priests, the Vatican II priests were paid huge pensions in their parishes and dioceses. So for those pensions, they didn't rebel against the Vatican II revolution. The SSPX priests are paid peanuts. And they're putting those peanuts or candies above doctrine. Most of them just don't want to lose the comfort of the priory, the friendship of your fellow priests, which is precious. They don't want to lose the reputation of being a rebel and renegade. And he's asking, why didn't more priests react against the doctrinal declaration?
Yeah. Is to not sacrifice his comfort of his life. They don't want to take how they ask how will we where are we live, where I have
where will I have my car, where will I have my chapel, where will I live in the street? But we have to be willing to do that.
Human calculus.
Yeah, Father was just telling me the other day, one priest in Mexico, he was against all this. Got a call from Bishop Follet and then immediately turned the next day.
Yes,
because he was threatened with transfer.
Yes, the comfort. He sacrificed the doctrine for the comfort and this security personal, to have a home, to have to eat, to have some security in the life, material things, but it's not sufficient.
Yeah, we need to trust in God. Old Father Hannafin and Father Urban would have novice order priests who they knew, who went from the traditional Mass to the new Mass. They would come and visit these two old priests, faithful to the old Mass. They lived in Kentucky with the Pfeiffer family at the time. And these novice order priests would come in and say, and the old priests would say, why don't you just drop the new Mass? Start saying the traditional faith, the traditional Mass. And they would just say, but I'll lose my medical insurance, I'll lose my car, I'll lose my rectory. You have more courage than I do. And they would leave, some of them in tears. They would just leave in tears. But really, all the priests were put to the crunch. Do you love me more than these? And all the SSPX priests still have that question hanging on them. Do you love me, Christ the King, more than your peanuts of a salary and comfort of priory and car? And Father saw a lot in Mexico. He was treated as the bad guy. Look how violent Father is, and always shouting and yelling, and he was treated like a piece of dirt. I'm embarrassed to say by his fellow priests and the superiors, because he was not budging, and they wanted him to slide with the new direction. And thank God, Father has some Cristero holy stubbornness. But yeah, Peter.
Yeah, this whole thing reminds me of the issues you see in the political world, and I don't know if you concur with this, but what showed this to me is I met with Father Bruciani recently, who used to be the superior in England, and now he's in Menzinger.
Yeah, louder, please.
With what's his name, Father Pagliani.
Yes.
And he was asked he said directly, I don't agree with the doctrinal declaration myself, but word for word, it would make the liberals angry if we got rid of it. Not the liberals in Rome, liberals in the society. So what does that say? In the society, there's a spectrum of people.
Yeah.
You've got the liberals and the conservatives within the party, so to speak. But we have the same in the political world, right? Like things we would just call it the Conservative Party in England, the same with the Republicans.
Yes.
The majority of people there probably don't agree with abortion, don't agree with mass migration.
Mm-hmm.
But their boss, what does he keep on doing? Allowing abortion, allowing mass migration. But they go along because they want their name of Republican, or they want their name of society. And I don't know if maybe it's the same thing going on. It's a type of Hegelian dialectic, where they're like you say, they're a pantheon and not a monolith. That's what they kept telling us. Is don't worry, the society's not a monolith. I'm a conservative. You can come to me. You can trust me. I'm on the right side of the spectrum. I don't know if you saw that yourself.
Well, it's in the Novice Order Church, right after Vatican II. Oh, this priest is more conservative. This parish is more conservative. This parish is too liberal for me. I go to the more conservative. And we're back to that with the SSPX. And it shouldn't be. It should be just Catholic, which it used to be before 2012. One solid army fighting for the faith. And that was a wonderful thing, that understanding that all the priests had. We're fighting on doctrine first, across the board. That was always the position of the old SSPX. And now now they got priests who are evolutionists, and Father Paul Robinson, he's right. He's in Colorado, but he runs the Angelus magazine. And how is an evolutionist running a Catholic newspaper? A traditional Catholic newspaper of one of the most important ones, the Angelus. And he's evolutionist. And the Archbishop Lefebvre, we want nothing said. We don't want anything to do with this evolution. The evolutionism of Teilhardism and Vatican II, and evolution of dogma. Let's just jump to the fourth point. The Archbishop Lefebvre said the crisis is not firstly, the Mass, but the faith. The new SSPX, the crisis is firstly about the Mass. And really, just listen to any Bishop Follet sermon or conference in the last 10 years, it's always the Mass is the crisis. The Mass is the crisis. The Mass is the main focus. When for Archbishop Lefebvre, he was even asked directly, is the Mass, if Rome granted you the Latin Mass, won't you make peace with Rome? And even if they grant you a bishop? And the Archbishop said no. The fundamental opposition with Rome is not firstly the Mass, but the faith, doctrine. Doctrine, doctrine, doctrine. And the famous saying of Archbishop Lefebvre in that interview in 1989, when he said, if Rome wants to discuss again, I will take it to the doctrinal level. And I will ask the Pope and the cardinals in Rome, do you accept the syllabus of errors, the anti-modern oaths, pascendi of Pius X, quas primas of Pius XI, condemnation of separation of church and state by Leo XIII, and the condemnation of the modern philosophies by Pius XII in Humanum Generis, and the condemnation of Freemasonry by Leo XIII and all the popes. And if you don't agree with this, then no discussion, because you're on AM and we're on FM. We just can't discuss. And that was the position of Archbishop Lefebvre. But Bishop Follet was very different.
Yes.
I think he hijacked the SSPX.
And can be another illusion, because we read it in many websites in internet. They are a little traditional. There are people that but are not of the people that are taking conscience of the problem of the Mass, and there is a good thing. But they don't see the other problems. They see only the question of the Mass. Maybe with the time we'll be able to understand the problem of doctrine. But now they understand only the question of the Mass. But maybe we need time. But you see, our Bishop Schneider,
Archbishop Schneider,
is traditionalist. Is very good because he say he's anti-modernist, and he say there are many priests that are anti-modernist. They say the Mass Tridentine, and it's wonderful. They are traditionalists. But the little question, they accepted the Concile Vatican II. That is a good question. He said yes, accepted the Concile Vatican II as they are modernist.
Yeah, he does accept Vatican II.
No illusion. No, they accept.
Schneider accepts Vatican II.
Yes.
And Cardinal Burke.
He say no, the Concile is good, but we need to make little corrections, and we will be good. Okay. No. The Concile is in fact of spirits. Modernist, all the Concile. And Bishop Lefebvre say it's not possible to separate the spirit modernist of the documents of the Concile Vatican II. It's not possible because the spirit is now very easy to take, And he say no, all the Concile is to. There is a conference of Bishop Lefebvre where he say that it's not possible to accept the Concile, to correct the Concile Vatican II is not possible. He said that, and we need to reject the Concile too. And you accepted the new Mass. You accepted the Mass Tridentine. You accepted the Council of Trent if you want. You can accept many good things, but you accepted too the Council. You are modernist. Maybe you don't have sufficient conscience. You are not bad intention. Can be, but in the faiths, you are modernist. And Schneider and other Cardinal Burke,
Mueller,
they accepted the Council. And we need to pray for them because they understand the things maybe after. But now they are modernist. And the only one to reject all the Council is Bishop Vigano. And what happened? He was excommunicated. Why don't excommunication for Bishop Burke, Bishop, how do you say?
Cardinal Burke, Archbishop Schneider. Why aren't they excommunicated?
Because they accept the Council. They accepted maybe the new Mass. I don't know if they accepted the new Mass.
In principle, they have to.
because they say
Yeah.
the Mass Tridentine, but maybe in the same time can say, oh, we can say the new Mass too, he corrects something, he can say, no.
A conservative new Mass.
And it's not sufficient to say accept the Mass Tridentine, to have the conservative ideas, can be good ideas, but it's not sufficient. You need to accept all the teaching of the Church, and you need to reject all the Council. If you make an acceptation of the Council, you can be maybe good intention, but you, in the facts, you are modernist, because the Council is modernist. And that is the problem of many traditional today. I think there are good persons that have good intention, but not understand all the problem of doctrine. He understands something, but it's not sufficient. And I don't want to collaborate with these priests and these bishops, because they approve the council. They approve the council. No, it's not possible, because it's a contradiction. Maybe if with the time they study the works of Bishop Lefebvre, and we understand all the problem, but now they don't understand all the problem. That is illusion to say they are traditionalists. No, it's not real traditionalist. And they are, maybe in the society you can find the priests are conservative, and they are no like the accords with Rome, but they accept many things of Bishop Felay, and they are liberal.
Mm-hmm.
Can say many things very good, but it's not sufficient. You need to take all.
One example of that is, I know of one parish where the Society of St. Pius X Chapel calls in the bulletin the Mass Extraordinary Form Mass at 10 a.m. Extraordinary Form every day at...
When's the ordinary form?
It's coming.
6 p.m. on a Saturday.
It's coming. A lot of priests don't like me because I said to a number of them, give it 5 years, you'll be saying the new Mass. So now they contact me and say, well, it's over 10 years and we're not saying the new Mass. So there's nothing changed. But if you accept this, which they have to by their silence at least, if you accept the doctrinal declaration, which declares the new Mass is legitimately promulgated, you're accepting it in principle. It's one step from saying it. Put it this way. Pardon me, Father, but imagine Father declaring, abortion is legitimately promulgated. Legitimate. Abortion is legitimate. You would probably die and fall over in your chairs of a heart attack, because if we call abortion legitimate, that's as good as saying it's good. Legitimate means it's a law that's good for the common good. It is given by a lawful authority, and it is a law of reason, and therefore virtuous. So to call abortion legitimate is just, you can't. And the new Mass is like an abortion of the sacrifice of the Mass. You can't call it legitimate. And don't listen to Father and I. The Archbishop, there's a conference where he argues about that word legitimate, and he says we just can't accept that word. The new Mass is not legitimate, which means good for souls, basically. Peter.
There's an article worth reading on the SSPX website, the English one, where they go through, they masquerade what the Archbishop used to say about the new Mass. So they basically quote mine. They say why we don't like the new Mass, is I think it's the title. And then they quote mine, Archbishop Lefebvre, from the early 70s, where
Yes.
I just don't like it. The seminaries can go on vacation, but it's not the best. And then most of the article is all that. And then at the end, for the last sentence of the article, later in life you are in this position.
I know. Bishop Follet did say that quite often. We now return to the position of Archbishop Lefebvre in 1974. But Archbishop Lefebvre, all the bishops and good priests, they were wrestling with this beast of modernism coming out of Rome. And the Archbishop, he wrestled with them, and after realizing the evil of this beast. He will say later, the new Mass is a bastard rite. It cannot give grace. It is poisonous. It is intrinsically evil. He will use that word, which makes many people, have a heart attack.
Yes.
But he used those words. And he also said numerous times, it does not pass grace. And he was a good theologian, so he knew what he was saying. And all that argument about, there was in the U.S., someone wrote an article, a pamphlet, using the Council of Trent to defend that the new Mass gives grace, quoting the Council of Trent, while the Council of Trent explicitly condemns the new Mass in its germ in the Protestant Revolution. The changes, facing the people, putting in Mass in English or vernacular, using a table instead of an altar, giving communion under both kinds. All that was condemned by the Council of Trent. So here they are trying to quote the Council of Trent to defend that the new Mass gives grace. Anyway, Mike.
Yesterday, Father, you talked about the stages of the life of the church. Bishop Williamson had given presentations on that before. Where does that come from exactly?
Oh, the 7 ages of the church?
Yes.
Yeah, Bishop Williamson spoke a lot about it. And when we had him in the seminary in the 80s, he was speaking a lot about it. It's from Venerable Bartholomew Holzhausen. A nice Irish name. Holzhausen. No, it's...
I wanted to know the history because basically, when you talk about that, when the bishop talked about it, and you see the process, I'll back up. So many secular writers, Greek philosophers, even Muslims, Chinese talk about the stages of a society. It starts in tribalism, goes through these different stages, gets high enlightenment, and ends up reverting back to tribalism again. Now, when I look at the process and that 7 stages of the church, it seems like we are following the same course. We started off with, early on in the church, there was division about different aspects of the faith. Went through the Middle Ages when you were talking about, that's the high level of the society, or be comparable to that. And now we're reverting back to tribalism.
Yeah.
But life does keep going, and this is one of the issues that I see right now is when we have all these different tribes and groups, but life goes on, right? So our young people, when we're broke up into these groups, these little cliques, whatever you want to call them, how are they going to find suitable spouses, significant others, when we're so divided? We have in our country right now, but not just in our country, but in our world, a negative birth rate.
Yeah.
Horrible. Everywhere you go.
Yeah, Europe is dying too, yeah.
Right. We're just not having kids.
That's right.
But that resurgence is almost necessary.
But
because
the
only people that are having kids are Christians, basically.
yeah. And Muslims.
That'd be the reason.
But Muslims have 5 wives.
Yeah.
So they got But my
in Christianity in the church follow the same pattern.
So I think what one of the points Mike is saying is, with our young people, how do they, when you got SS Peter, Christ the King Institute, all these divisions, and they see these divisions, how do they marry a good spouse? How do they take a position in all this? Well, they have to know the faith. It obliges us to know. The young people got to study the faith and the crisis of liberalism, the history of the church. That's why Archbishop Lefebvre wrote that book, They Have Uncrowned Him. It lifts the engine of the car and says, here's the problem. The problem's in the engine. Vatican II, new Mass, new Code of Canon Law, and all the liberal errors and modernism. So what's good about it, Mike, I think it obliges all the young people. They got to study. They got to pray and study to sort this out. And you'll always find Archbishop Lefebvre was just sound, so sound in his theology, his positions. And he doesn't stand on his own opinion. He always quotes the popes up against Vatican II, the popes against modernism, the popes against liberalism. So we got to stand with the popes of tradition and of the magisterium. And if Catholics know that, then they can't stand with the new SSPX, Indult, St. Peter's, Campos, Good Shepherd Institute, New Redemptorists, who else? Christ the King Institute. They've all accepted New Mass in Vatican II in some degree. So if they can sort that out by some miracle of grace and some study and prayer, they'll be fighting with the right principles.
So going back to that point, if you're a young person and looking at the other camp, and you talked about how priests should have left when these changes happened, just like priests should have left the Novus Ordo Church after that.
That's right. They should have. Yes.
Now you're going to try to bring somebody into the faith, or get them to switch from an SSPX camp as a young person, when it is extremely difficult for leaders, priests and bishops, to stand up for what's right. You're putting young people, or we're putting young people, in almost an impossible position.
Well, not really, because what's wonderful about this fight is the truth is just there. It's true. The truth is there. If I come out tomorrow saying the new Mass is legitimately promulgated, well, I've joined the enemy. The Archbishop he said something very powerful, and let me just quote it off the top of my head by memory. He says, because someone said to him, there are good conservative bishops who are devout, who promote the rosary and are anti-abortion. But he said, the moment even the best of these bishops are priests, except Vatican II, or the new Mass, or the new Code, the moment they accept that, they are contributing to the destruction of the Catholic Church and helping the revolution. So the doctrine is there. It stands on its own without any of us. The teaching of the Church is clear. And it's clear that those who go with Vatican II and the new Mass are compromising on the faith. And how the young people sort this out? Well, some of them do, with humility and prayer and study. You know, the two English boys here from Great Britain.
They just kind of turned up one day and they knew everything from their own research. That's the simplest way I can put it.
Yeah, but they came out of the Novus Ordo.
Yeah.
They were in the Novus Ordo world. Did you discover the Indult world first, or what was it?
No, they didn't. But they are discovering it now, but I think they've got the common sense to navigate
He's
it.
talking about us, Peter.
Oh, right. I thought you were talking about...
Yeah, you.
I thought you were talking about Sam and Joe.
Pardon?
You know Sam and Joe?
Yes.
Oh, right, it's not them. Okay, sorry.
But I mean, the British young men, you were in the Novus Ordo. Did you go first to the Indult and then discover the
I was
SSPX?
the liturgical priest who was over you in English first, then Latin. And it's like, what? That's insane. Don't go there again. It's that simple.
So if the British boys can sort this out, it's a grace of God.
It's like if you do want to be a vaccinated, married to a feminist, drive your wife to the Novus Ordo, then you go to the traditional Mass like Dr. Kennedy Hall says. So do you want that life, or do you want to actually, use your life for something good? That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Because it's not merely esoteric. There's things in life that matter. There's crises that come, like take this jab or not, or you lose your job. And you go to the SSPX and they say, oh, it's remote material cooperation, if you complain to the person, it's fine.
Yes.
Like, did you want to put up with that for the rest of your life? No. So, rant over.
I think to answer your question with the young people, I think once you get the young people to realise that we live in the worst time of history ever, and that things are awful, that's only possible if the good men do nothing, or the good men don't do what they're meant to do. And once they realise that, they're like, right, I realise everyone's basically wrong about everything, and they have an open mind, and if it's like 5-10 people who agree with them, they're open to that. Because if thousands of people agreed to them, the world wouldn't be in the state it was in. So I think that's helpful for me.
Yeah, so all it takes is a core. Even Vladimir Lenin, the communist, said, give me 10 men like St. Francis of Assisi and I'll conquer the world. Give me 10 Catholics that have the faith in their blood and they understand the crisis and the fight. They'll do more than thousands of fools. So yeah, if the men need to be anchored though, and that's why the men's retreat and you understanding this problem is so crucial. Because some of you are young, you'll be married, and you got to form good saints, but solid on doctrine. And some of you have a tremendous influence. Mike's in politics. He can fight for good causes. So, yes.
I have two quick questions. So one is, why do we call it the old mass and new mass? With like, you would have to change it out. Like the old mass would come after, and you usually throw something away that's old. So if you're a traditional Catholic, you're kind of going along. Is it? How do they?
Well, it was Bernini who called, and Pope Paul VI, who called it the Novus Ordo Missae, the new order of the Mass. That's why it's called new. And traditional Catholics counterposition the real Mass against it by saying the old Mass. That's all. Old Mass, new Mass.
You talked about rites earlier.
Rites?
You saw it.
Yes.
And so, what do you think of the Bill of Rights?
Oh, the Bill of Rights. Okay. That's RIGHTS. That's different. So the Bill of Rights, that's another question.
Did you follow them while?
Pardon?
Follow them while being traditionally Catholic.
Well, the traditional Catholic will turn to the popes and realize Pope Pius the IX, Leo the XIII, Pius the X, Pius the XI, Pius the XII condemned the principles of the Bill of Rights. That, certainly the what's that? Congress shall make no
Establishment clause. Congress shall have no established religion.
Yeah, Congress will be neutral on matters of religion. That's condemned by the church. So as a Catholic, we can't accept that principle. But we can fight and pray for the conversion of our country to establish that our country be Catholic.
So can we not follow any of the right?
No, because there's some good points in it too. Like the gun law is a good thing.
So if you were to be asked if you were to get rid of all of them or to keep all of them, would you keep or get rid of all of them?
Well, it's not that simple. It's not that simplistic. But as Catholics, we want the social kingship of Jesus Christ. So we got to work for that and eventually replace that clause with the religion of the United States is the Catholic religion. And it will be professed by the state. That's our goal.
So maybe on that note, how do you combat, because I'll try to promote the social kingship of Christ and then get responses of, oh, you just want a theocracy, or rather than integralism, which is kind of this proper position of it.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we distinguish that? Because Mohammedans have the theocracy, really and true.
Right. Well, here you're getting into questions of the government and the state and all that, but we have to hold the Catholic teaching on it, which is whatever form of government it is, whether it be democracy, aristocracy, or monarchy, it has to profess the Catholic faith and proclaim the kingship of Christ. Except that modern democracy has been particularly condemned by Pius X and the good popes because of the false principles on which it stands. Namely, vote establishes truth, the majority vote establishes what is true, and the authority comes from the people. Those are the two main condemned errors of modern democracy. If those things can be cleaned out, you can have a healthy democracy, a Catholic democracy. The Church has never condemned democracy as Aristotle understood it, and and St. Thomas. But that's another question. So
I have a question about the jurisdictions. How come only 3 for the Society of St. Pius X? Matrimony, holy orders, and confessions. And I ask because I've heard horror stories of people who would call the society and say, I'd like this particular family member to receive extreme unction, and they don't run out like they used to.
yeah, they used to.
Is it because they don't have jurisdiction? Or are there other... I mean, I don't understand why. They would only settle for 3 instead of all the sacraments.
Well, in fact, they have them all, because baptism, extreme unction, and confirmation. If I may, let me just put in one parenthesis. Did you all see that new article of the new SSPX a few weeks ago, officially accepting the new rite of confirmations? That in most cases they say they're valid and you don't need to be conditionally reconfirmed. Did you see that article?
Yeah.
It was written by Redemptorists. They made the agreement with Rome in 2012. Can you comment on that, Father? The acceptance of the new rite of confirmation by the new SSPX and the new holy oils.
Yes, but the situation is not changed. There is no change of our opinion because the Bishop Lefebvre now want to say that the new confirmation is doubtful because they have they accept to utilize another oils, not only the olive oil, and the new church accepted to take the oil of corn or other things,
You follow that?
And
The new church accepts corn oil, Crisco oil, any oil, coconut oil, instead of the olive oil, which is what the church has always used.
Is not valid the sacraments. And if you go to receive some holy oil to be confirmed, you don't know what oil they utilize.
You don't know what oil they use.
And you have the doubt of the validity. And you not have the right to receive sacraments doubtful. You don't have the right. Can be valid, but you don't know because you don't know what oil they use. And there is a problem with the intention of the ministers, the intention that we should Lefebvre say. Today, all the sacraments of the new church are doubtful because we are not sure of the intention of the ministers. He said that in the homily of the consecrations of the bishops. He said that because we are not sure of the intentions of the ministers because they are modernists and can say, I don't believe in the original sin, and you baptize, but it's not valid. Baptism is not valid. See, you don't have faith in the reality of the original sin. And there can be many opinions in many things, in many sacraments. You don't know how are the intention of the ministers. That's why there is a doubt of the validity. And you can receive the sacraments doubtful because you don't have the right to receive the sacraments, doubtful sacraments.
Well, Father, there's also the point of, because they say in baptism specifically, because even a non-Catholic technically can baptize as long as they desire to do what the church intends to do. So, I mean, I know your point of original sin, but if at the same time that
can be that, can be other opinions. There are in the persons that you don't know. Today are many opinions in many things that are not Catholic, and here are some opinions that destroy the intention of the sacrament, and there is no validity. But we don't know how is in the mind of the priest.
The mind of the priest, we don't know.
We don't know all his opinions, or he learned in the seminary. It's not easy to verify that. That's why there is the doubt of all the sacraments. And we need some sacrament, go to a priest ordained by Bishop Lefebvre, in the line of Bishop Lefebvre, not in the line took, but the line of Bishop Lefebvre. And you are sure that you have the sacrament, and that you are sure.
Yeah, one last question, please.
Can it harm the intention as well if the priest says something along the lines of, we're welcoming Timmy into our lovely family, and you know, things like that, because that's not what baptism is. It's obviously, like you say, to destroy original sin. Because that's what they do a lot. This is a welcoming ceremony.
Yeah, initiation into the Christian community. That's the modernist idea of baptism.
One other quick thing. Do you know who it was that said that Bishop Pelé is more of a hero of the church than Archbishop Lefebvre?
Yeah, Father Michael Simolan. Father Michel Simolan. He said that the Archbishop Bishop Fallet has done far more for the society than Archbishop Lefebvre.
Is he in France?
He's in France.
He's in France, yes.
He's still alive, right?
I think he's alive. He's with the sisters of Dominicans here.
Okay.
I have one thing that I think is important: the notion of obedience, because the thing say the Declaration of 2012 is very important. The question of legitimacy of the new mass that had too much consequences. You need to think about, because it's very, very important. The notion Catholic of obedience is, you can find in the spiritual actors, the theology Catholic of obedience is when your superior gives you another order, you need to obey always. Only exception in the question of the faith and the question of moral, when a superior asks you to make a sin. But out of that, you must obey always, no exceptions. If you don't obey, make a sin. You make a sin. It can be a mortal sin. And if the new mass is legitimate, the order of Rome, the order of the new popes are to say the new mass. If the new mass is not bad, is not a sin, is legitimate, we need to obey. If you don't obey, we don't say the new mass, you make a mortal sin. But if the new mass is legitimate, is want to say, is moral, is in the line of the faith, we need to say the new mass. If we don't say the new mass, we are disobedient, we are schismatic, we are in the mortal sin. And that's why it's very important, this declaration, to say that the new mass and the new sacrament are legitimate. And it's the same thing to say Bishop Lefebvre are disobedient. All the work of the society, of the story of the society, is abuse, is one abuse, is schismatic. And is to say, to deny all the work of Bishop Lefebvre. It's very important to say there is legitimacy. The new mass is legitimate. The new mass is legitimate, is moral, is good, and you need to obey. If you don't want to obey, to say the new mass, you make a mortal sin. The priest make a mortal sin. He decided to not say the new mass because it's legitimate. But if that is not legitimate, we make a good action to disobey. And that is founded in the Conception Catholic of the obedience. That is the Conception Catholic. Always we need to be obedient in the question that are not intrinsically bad. The orders of the superior ask something that is intrinsically bad, we can do that, we can obey.
That's a powerful point, Father.
Yes, and they have too much consequences. They are reproving all the work of Bishop Lefebvre.
Yeah.
If you accept that, you reprove all the work of Bishop Lefebvre, all his the opera, no?
All his works.
Well,
The work of Bishop Lefebvre, and the use is like to say Bishop Lefebvre was disobedient.
Wow. So that
Either
using that legitimate.
They have many consequences to say the new mass is legitimate. No. It's the new mass, if is legitimate, is moral, is in the line of the faith, Catholic of the traditional faith, and we need to be obedient to accept them and to say. If the Pope say you not say the new mass traditional, only say the new mass, we need to obey because it's Catholic mass. The new mass is Catholic. The new mass is moral. The new mass is in the line of the faith. You need, if you don't obey, you don't say the new mass, you make a mortal sin. You are schismatic.
So
That
now-
is all that consequences. It's very important to say.
And that's the word used in the new doctrinal declaration is we accept the new mass as legitimately promulgated, which means they're one step from saying it. They have to be.
Uh-huh.
And it's logical they're going to end up saying it. If not
Yeah.
next year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, but they're going to end up saying it.
There are too much consequences, and to say the new mass and the new sacraments are legitimate.
Very serious. That's
So-
why Archbishop Lefebvre fought that word, legitimate.
The society and tradition exist because the new mass are not legitimate. We are that if in other situation we don't exist. The tradition don't exist. All the movement of the society St. Pius X of the works the society don't have sense. And
Doesn't make sense then. Once you accept it's legitimate, it's like smashing down all the work of Archbishop Lefebvre.
it's easy. If you say the new mass is legitimate, it's very easy to say the council is legitimate, because the new mass is the fruit of the council, is the spirit of the council. It's in the same line. It's the same.
Yes.
The new mass are legitimate, or you need to accept the council too. And there is the essential compromise. That is the essential compromise. Is more big compromise to say that than to sing a paper with Rome and they say make something official. We are now in Rome. We are in accord with the Pope. That is accidental. The essential compromise is to say the new mass is legitimate, and there are the consequences. All the pastoral, all the reforms of the church are in the same continuity, the same line, and we need to accept the council too because it's the same spirit. It's the same.
You
spirit.
cease being Catholic. It's
Yes.
another religion.
It's a big treason of Bishop Lefebvre to make these documents.
The treason.
The big treason to Bishop Lefebvre, and is to reprove all his work of Bishop Lefebvre. That is the biggest treason of Bishop Lefebvre and Father Schmidberger, that to make these documents and never be retracted. And there is essential things. And all our fight, all our works are in this logic. The new mass is bad. We not have sense to exist. The works of tradition, the resistance, yes. You need to obey. You do not have reason to exist.
If you make the argument from a superior to an inferior regarding obedience in this regard, and you can only disobey based on faith and morals, then the superior is implying that the inferior does not know their faith, which means they are ignorant. Which, if you know your faith like the Archbishop did, you're basically saying what you're saying is not true as a superior, which would make them liars, wouldn't it?
They are liars.
So you literally can't spell conciliar without liar. Wouldn't that kind of be the point?
Liar. Yeah, you're right. We got to be either Conciliar Catholics or Roman Catholics. So fight on. Viva Cristo Rey. We'll close there.